IVM.
Hey everybody, welcome to another week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Paytm Money. As we go into God knows what week of the lockdown, we've been trying to make sure that we get as much content out to you as possible. We had some interesting episodes in the last week. Cyrus Says we had Angad Singh Ranyal on it. That was a fun episode to listen to. On the Filter Coffee podcast, we had Taslima Nasleen and Arunav Sinha on that. That was another great conversation. Karthik Srinivasan joined Varun on Advertising is Dead. And guys, look for Pratik Oswal on Paisa Vaisa podcast with Anupam Gupta. That was another great episode. I'd also like to let people know that the show that we're doing with Mr. Ashish Vidyarthi, Begin the Journey, is now going to be releasing 3 times a week. So do check that out. I'm sure you'll enjoy that. And with that, let's get you back to your show.
We all grew up with stories. When we were young, we were told about all these amazing stories that came from places whose addresses we didn't really know, but we most definitely knew that we belonged there. When I say there is a story, you've already situated it in a place. There are certain characters that are involved. They behave in a certain way. Even if they don't look like each other or you or the kind of people you see in your real world, they do exist in a parallel universe. But is that all to storytelling? Is storytelling just an art form you practice in leisure, or is storytelling a way of life? What happens when somebody says that I'm a professional storyteller? Do they step into the role of being somebody who owns stories, or is that somebody who just shares stories so you can own so many memories in exchange? Joining me right after the short break is somebody who wants to build a universe called Jumri Talaya, where all the stories coexist in a happily ever after. A voiceover artist and somebody who's a brilliant performer, whose stories and a performance leave you in awe. Joining me on this episode at Litnama is Mehak Mirza Prabhu.
Entertainment is like food for the brain. It's a window to culture and a great way to understand the world around us. The internet has changed what it means to be an entertainer, creating new storytellers with millions of fans. It has spawned a new breed, the story sellers, those behind the scenes creating the business for this ecosystem. They work with brands, platforms and channels who are keen to capitalize on an audience hungrier than ever for more stories. I'm Vineet Kanabar, and I have a ringside view to how stories are told and sold. On my show, I bring you creators, artists, executives and marketers for a freewheeling conversation around the business of entertainment. Tune in to Storytellers and Story Sellers for personal stories, analysis and criticism every Thursdays as I talk to the brightest minds telling or selling great stories today.
Hi, Lakshmi.
Hello, Mehak. How are you?
I am good.
I mean, it's become kind of a norm. Okay, I am a huge fan, like to start this off with, because I still remember when you had come to the event that we hosted at Paftoon, I was blown away. Somebody told me, hey, there is someone you might know who's here, but we are not sure. And I said, who can it be? Because we had like a guest list and everything in place. And they're like, oh, there's someone called Mehak and she asked for you. I'm like, excuse me, what? Firstly, this Mehak is here. Secondly, she asked for me. Okay. And it was just so amazing. And you ended up performing a story, which is my favorite story of yours. And just every time I see you, it's so heartwarming. And I'm just like supremely grateful you chose to tell your stories the way you do.
You can't see me right now, but with all those words, I'm glowing. I'm smiling. So thank you.
Oh my God. There is so much to unpack here because, like, just like I said in the introduction, uh, storytelling as an activity is a very political act, but people sometimes like think like stories are just fun, or just something that you do when you're free. But for a person like you, for whom storytelling is like a way of life, how do you navigate this whole space? Like, I'm so confused. Like, what plane does professional storytelling then exist in? Is it a viable career choice, or do you even look at it as a career choice? Like, what's this confusion if you could guide me?
For me, the journey when it started off, it started as a passion completely. So more than fun, it was like a deep therapy for me. when I started storytelling, when I started writing stories and then performing through voice modulations by becoming characters, understanding a character, and all of that. That was how it started. And slowly, when uh, I started putting it out without any expectation, that's when people started liking, and then uh, events organizers, they started asking to come and perform, and then I realized that yes, this can also become a profession. So that's how it went for me. So it was a natural transition. And but today, if I go and dissect that journey for somebody who wants to take it up directly as a profession, so I would say that go slow, make sure that it keeps you busy enough,
Okay. Hmm.
and then you leave the job that you're already doing. So otherwise what happens is the
Yeah.
approach with which people go into any art form as an artist is, because I'm an artist, I will work whenever I feel like. When this art comes to me, I will create it. But it doesn't work like that if you are deciding to earn your bread and butter through it. Yeah, so you have to treat it like a career, like you
Hmm.
would treat a 9 to 5 job, dedicated, disciplined work that you put in it. You have to cater to demands that are coming from the market, from the brand, from the event people, and things like that. You have to be flexible. You don't have to sell your soul, but you still have to be flexible.
Correct. I think that is something that's very poignant right now. Like, there is a very, like, with the digital culture around storytelling that has developed over time, there is a very fine line between being somebody who's renowned for their art and being somebody who has sold
Hmm.
their soul. So to put it in like simple dichotomies, because of course even I have attended enough number of open mics to know that sometimes you can see
Hmm.
through a performer. You know that everything that they're doing might not be based on something more genuine or an experience that they want to share, because you see them being more aware of the cameras than of the audience, interacting more with, like, it's a very very tricky terrain again to kind of navigate with what is happening in the scene exactly, because all of a sudden there's this video boom around storytelling where every artist wants to be taped, which is essential because brands want to see
Correct.
your work. So if you're a storyteller, if you really want to put yourself out there, you have to have some kind of a documentation of sorts. So I sometimes feel like, I don't know if I'm judging people too much for performing for the camera. I mean, that's not something that I deem is wrong in any sense. But is storytelling kind of in the moment, because you always think of it in the
Hmm.
traditional sense? So, do you think that storytelling right now is in a flux with whatever is
Hmm.
happening around
See,
us?
I'll tell you what has happened. There are two aspects of storytelling right now. Okay. One is storytelling as the
Okay.
art that it is and all of that. And second is what storytelling is bringing in terms of recognition. Now, the problem is
Okay.
just the way there is passion for storytelling, there is passion for recognition. So there are
Hmm.
people who are being driven by the wrong passion into storytelling. So their passion is the end result of it. Okay, my video will go out and then people will appreciate it. These many likes I'll get. These are the comments that I'm going to get through storytelling because it is working right now. So let me do storytelling because it's so simple. I just have to go and talk. And what? I might talk about heartbreaks. It's happening. Everybody's talking about that. So you are taking the easy way out for your real passion, which is recognition. That is what is becoming the problem.
Correct.
So
Hmm.
the root has to be your love for stories first, not because somebody else is doing it. It's because you.
Correct.
So the thing is, for you to step on the stage, if the reason is because you love your story so much that it is not your hobby anymore, it has become your बोलते हैं ना कि फर्ज बन जाता है. It is your duty. It is your duty to go and tell that
Hmm.
story on stage because you have been chosen as a medium to have that in you. Only then go on stage and perform that
Yeah.
story, and then wanting to have a video so that brands recognize and all is all so that people recognize your art form more, your stories more, and not you. That's the right way to go about it, I feel.
That's very, very prophetic, honestly, because you used to read about how the ancient idea of having a bard for a community,
Hmm.
where that person was entrusted with the responsibility to preserve the culture and
Yeah.
tell the stories through poetry. I mean, that's what Shakespeare did. That's what Wordsworth did. That's what Coleridge did. And you realize it's not only limited to poetry now. storytellers have been prophets for generations. I mean, the amount of revelation you understand from a story is so much more than you would from like reading a 500-page book about
True.
culture, maybe.
Because
And
the
I
talent
feel,
required to consume a story, the ability to consume a story also doesn't require too much. Everybody can consume it. You don't need to learn to read
right.
or write or do anything, any extra study to be a consumer of it. So, because of that, also storytelling is the
Yeah.
best medium I feel to put out a message across in the universe.
Because it just, I read one of these interviews that you had done, and the author had a comment to make where they said that her idea of storytelling is not influenced by theory or other abstractions that exist around this genre, or it comes from the core practice
Hmm.
of that form. So, discipline is something that has been supremely at the core, and something that I really, really appreciate is how you choose to also play with language when you're
Hmm.
telling your stories. Like you cannot not imagine you as a certain character when you're
Hmm.
portraying them. Even when the visual in front of me is a performer, the actual image in my head is somebody that is that character
Hmm.
telling that story. Do you feel this comes from, like, do you have to have an inherent knowledge of say theater or say performance, or does this come to you when you're supremely passionate about your story?
Uh, Definitely passionate about your story. See, people who have the theater knowledge and who have done acting courses and who are actors, I'm sure they can add much more to it than what I can even reach. But when I realized that without any acting background, without any theater background, or in fact, for that matter, even in school days, not getting on stage, okay, no absolute zero stage experience.
Yeah.
If I could do it, I realized everybody can do it, and that's where actually I started teaching it. So for me it was, I've written a story in third person. For example, there was a girl, there was a boy, they went for coffee, and then when I wanted to tell a friend, I felt that it is so boring. It's the same old thing that I'm talking. How can I make it more interesting for that person to listen to the same story? Like, what if I am the girl and I'm telling my experience? Okay, not as a storyteller but as that girl.
Hmm.
And
Right.
then I just went, you know what, I went to a coffee shop, and then he came, and then he entered, and then he sat, and this happened, and then I felt this and that. Now I started feeling it myself when I became the girl. And that was exciting.
Right.
It excited me. It may not excite someone else. So not necessarily everybody has to feel it that way about storytelling. Your calling must be something else. Something else excites you. So what excites you, do it. That's your art form.
Yeah. Which is so important because stories can be told in so many different ways. Like you have the choice to kind of step in into a narrative, step out from a narrative, talk about something that happened to you, talk about something that did not
True.
happen to you. But somewhere do you, so there's this very like a very strong conversation that is happening in the literary
Mm,
space right now, that who speaks
mm,
for whom, like it is influenced by everything in culture
mm.
studies. Do you sometimes feel like storytellers, while portraying certain characters, kind of take over someone's narrative? And if that happens, then what exactly is the politics of stepping into somebody else's shoes and telling their
You
story?
don't step in anybody else's shoes. I feel you first become that person. That's the first step. You cannot be yourself and step into somebody else's
Okay.
shoes and try to fit in it. It will never fit. Your feet is going to get sore or the shoe is going to tear. First, you have to become that person completely inside first. Outside will automatically happen, and the shoe will just fit you automatically, perfectly. So you have to realize you don't have control over the narrative. Your character is going to react to the situation just the way he should, not how a storyteller should, how the storyteller should. So the minute you realize that you are powerless when it comes to the story and the character, you are nothing, is when actually the story starts unfolding in front of you.
Hmm. Right. Wow. I'm just like transported into a different universe right now. I'm just thinking about so many, there are like thoughts rushing in my head because this triggers so many different memories. Like while growing up, you listen to all of this pop culture and you're told that you need to step into somebody's shoes to realize, to kind of experience. I think the world needs more empathy
Oh,
than
so
sympathy.
true.
And that is something that storytelling as a genre
So
can
true. You
provide.
said the exact right thing. It's not sympathy that the world drives on, it's empathy only.
Oh God. That being said, you are one of the artists. Like I said this, the last time I said this was to
Mhm.
Jasmine Khurana, because she's somebody who practices her slam poetry like a
Mhm.
ritual. And after her, I've seen you, who literally can, like, I'm 150% sure that if somebody wakes you up in the middle of the night and asks you about this one line from one story, and you can tell the entire thing just as is. No changes
Mhm.
whatsoever. Like, do you also ritualistically then practice your stories? What is your process from page to stage?
Okay, my process from page to stage, I'll give you a secret. So, what happens is,
Yeah.
I do fiction storytelling, right? So, I f- so today, if I
Correct.
ask you, Lakshmi, tell me about one incident of your life which was very happy for you, okay, which was a happy memory. Take how much time are you going to take to
Okay.
tell me that? Even if I wake you up in the middle of the night, 6 seconds, right?
Yeah,
You can
right.
immediately come up with it.
Maybe a little
Yeah,
more.
but you can
Yeah.
come up with something. I'm not asking about the
Correct.
happiest, but one simple happy memory. You can come up with it,
Yeah.
right? If I ask you 100 times, different places, different occasions, different people, if they ask you, you will still be able to say the same thing with the same passion, with the same excitement. Correct? So, if fiction,
Correct.
the
Yeah.
story that you have, if you make it a memory and you just keep it there, you don't have to rehearse it. It's just there. It's a memory. The way you,
Yeah. That
yeah,
makes
the way
so
you
much
frame
sense.
it might change. Today I might say that story in a particular way. Tomorrow I'll say the flow might be a little different, but the end will still come at the same time. Because that's why we tell stories, right? To give that last final end to that incident that you're telling. So you don't need to buy heart stories. That's the point. You just have to make it a memory. Don't memorize them word by word. Make them a memory, a nice visual, complete memory inside your head. Now, there is no difference between fiction and non-fiction. So anybody asks you, you just tell it out of that memory with that same excitement and emotion.
Honestly, if we were doing this in a studio right now, I would be like you would be surprised to see how I am smiling ear to ear. I cannot, like, this is so cathartic. This has been more cathartic than I kind of expected it to be. I knew that every conversation with you has always been that, have you watched Jane the Virgin by any
What?
chance?
Sorry?
Have you watched the show Jane the Virgin?
No, I haven't. Should I?
Okay, so there's this very nice,
Okay.
oh, you should,
Okay,
most
done.
definitely. But there's this one moment in the show that every time something
Hmm.
nice happens, her heart kind of glows,
Okay.
okay? And it's a thing, like every time a character falls in love or they feel the emotion of love, their heart glows. And that's literally how I feel right now. I kind of understand the moment. Because it's just, I knew that art and literature is sort of a closure, but I never knew that by actually making it a memory that you would receive
Yeah.
closure about something. You generally do the opposite. You try to run away from it to like find a sense of closure. I think next time I'm going to try and work towards it, run
Yes.
towards it, and chase for
Absolutely,
closure.
absolutely. In fact, the more you dig in
That's
and bring things out on the surface, वो होता है ना, if you get injury, fine. If you put a band-aid over it and
yeah,
keep it for a month, it will not heal. But the day you remove it in 4 days, it will heal.
correct.
So put whatever is inside you on the outer layer
That's
of yourself and watch it heal completely through telling a story of that deepest emotion or experience that you have. And if it's a fiction, nobody even would know it's your story. So there you go.
that
So fiction is medicine.
is so crazy. So wow, I think that is what should be like a subtitle to this episode.
Done.
Fiction is medicine. That is so like that is something that you put on a poster and you put up on your
Done. I
wall.
like it.
No, but that being said, done. Let's make it happen. Wow, this is going to so like I never thought this conversation would go in this direction, but bringing it back to another very very significant part of your process. You are somebody who is known for sharing your stories. but not a lot of artists let you in on secrets or the behind the scenes of their art form, how they practice it. But you run something called the Jumri Talaya and like a series of workshops under Jumri Talaya. That is how I first came across like your work, and like you've moved it online now because people can't physically attend, but you've been doing workshops for the longest of time. So where did this idea
Okay.
come in?
So this is another thing that everybody says, that not many artists share their craft, and they don't want everybody to know their process and everything, and you do it. But frankly, I don't take
Yeah.
any pride in that or anything. It is not because of that I am too generous or something like that. I feel teaching is really my true calling. That's what I realized after I
Okay.
started
Yeah.
taking workshops one by one. So I personally myself never said, okay, that I have reached a level where I can teach. But people thought that I could. So I went ahead with their idea. And then I realized that oh my God, I'm more passionate about this. So I sat down, and then I used to literally break down all my stories that worked and that did not work. And then I try to remove the formula and the process behind those that work. So, what is that foolproof way in which you can create a crisp, short oral story that for sure everybody is going to at least enjoy for sure, and take a memory of it? That's the process that I've created, and I teach it through Chumri Taiya. Yes.
That is so nice because somewhere I also feel like coming back to where we started, this entire idea of storytelling as a practice in itself, as not just leisure but preservation of culture. I strongly feel somewhere that there used to be a time when there used to be proper schools of
Hmm.
thought that influenced how certain art forms functioned, or like a structure, like a
Hmm.
feedback system. Somewhere with the rapid digitalization and so much happening over like a limited span of time, this entire need for feedback or a peer review system seems a
Yeah,
little lost, like in
true.
the crowd, because people are so focused on working on their own stories that they don't really have time to listen to
Yeah.
somebody else's, and that is kind of something that that does not sustain a system, like it does not build an ecosystem. It just becomes like tiny universes in themselves, and that's where the stories kind of
True.
end. Um, but now that you've taken the
Mhm.
course online, have you like seen a difference? Like, do you have like a before workshop and after workshop story with people? How is that going about?
You're talking about before online and offline, you're talking the difference about?
No, or just before people joined
Okay.
the course
Okay.
and after, like, have you had like the
Oh,
testimonials
yes.
of
Most
it?
importantly, the way they looked at themselves as storyteller changes. Then the way they
Okay.
have a relationship with the character changes. The way they approach stories changes. At three levels, the major change happens. So the way they look at the storyteller is they give importance to the storyteller, first of all. So my biggest thing is that I talk, which
Okay.
is very, I mean, if I say it, you will also realize it's so true that when we write stories, when we create stories, the biggest importance is given to the storyline, the story plot, the situation that the story is about. We all think stories are situations, right?
Correct.
Story is equal to a situation, correct?
Right.
That's what we all feel. But that is absolutely
Correct.
wrong. The idea is entirely wrong. A story is not a situation. A story is your
Oh,
character's reaction to a situation. Every line is what your character's reaction
yeah.
is, right?
This makes, oh my God, yeah, this is, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're so
So, do you
right.
like tea or coffee? Tea,
Yeah, I
okay.
like tea.
So, let's,
I
for
like tea.
example, say, assume that if I give you a cup of hot tea in the morning, your entire day is going to go great. Okay, as example. For me, if I get a black
Yeah.
coffee in the morning, my entire day is going to go great. Otherwise, I'm going to have a headache and it will go bad. Okay, now let's keep a same situation between you
Yeah.
and me. We are sitting in a restaurant. The waiter comes and he gives you a hot cup of chai. Okay, you drink it. He
Okay.
comes and gives me a hot cup of chai. I drink it. How is your day going to go? Good or bad?
Good.
How is my day going to go? Good or bad?
Maybe not that good.
Exactly. So the story, even though situation is exactly the same, the stories are going to go in absolutely different directions because the characters reacted to it differently. So
Right. Yeah.
till the time you don't know your character that well, how will you know how he's going to react? Otherwise, you will create typical stories. So if you want to create unique stories, you have to create a relationship with that character as if he's somebody you know so well, like he's your friend, your family member, that you will know exactly how he's going to react in a particular situation. That will make your story interesting. So your relationship with the character changes, your relationship with yourself change, because you realize if you are a complex human being, only then you will understand the character is complex. Right? So you have to go deep in yourself to go deep in your character. It's so connected. And once that happens, suddenly the story has become alive. Only then it will become a memory. So that's the change that happens throughout the entire course. So from looking at a story to as a situation, they start looking at the story as something that really happened, just not to themselves. That's
Wow. I'm already taking notes. Like, I'm not even kidding you. If this was a video call, you could have seen me struggle for paper and pen and write all of this down. Wow, this is some next level. Like when I told my team at IBM that I'm going to do a conversation with you, they were genuinely excited because we all love your work. And I was like, okay, what is this conversation going to be about? And it's like, oh, just the economics of being a storyteller. What is the politics of being a storyteller in times where, telling your truth is a very difficult process. But I think this has become a more like a journey inward than
yeah,
outward,
it
because
is.
all the things that I planned to talk about were these large, ideas about the world. And then
Yeah.
I realized actually it all depends upon these smaller inner universes that we create amongst ourselves, and that kind of impacts the larger idea
I
of
will
the
tell you
world
one thing,
overall.
Lakshmi. People are looking at
Yeah,
topics outside. This is the topic that is right now going
correct.
on. Everybody's talking about, I should write about this, I should write about that, this is working, and things like that. That it doesn't work like that. Your stories are an extension of what your motive is as a storyteller to put out in the universe. It comes from there.
Hmm.
It's only what you want. So you have to be conscious about what message, what motive, what change you want to bring in the society. Your character, your story, everything are just tools to do that. So don't look outside at all. You have
Correct.
to only look inside. Only then you will have
Wow,
various
I think
stories, right?
that's a yeah. I think that's a very, very poignant time to take a break
Okay.
and come back with your story. I mean, there is no better extension to this conversation than actually having you perform my favorite story, which I'm really, really glad you agreed to do.
Okay,
So
yes.
let's just jump into the short break.
Done. Let's do that.
Beta, did you know 79% of all scientists in NASA are Indian only?
देखो इंडिया में टैक्स सिर्फ मिडिल क्लास भरती है. एवरीवन इज जस्ट एंजॉयिंग फ्री यार.
आजकल के youngsters are only interested in partying and enjoying. उनको देश की पड़ी ही नहीं है.
बेटा तुम बस शादी कर लो, उसके बाद तो you can enjoy life like anything.
I will tell you what this country needs. This country needs 15 years of dictatorship. That is the only way to become a superpower. See the Chinese, how much they've progressed.
सुनो, तुमने ये WhatsApp forward देखा?
So what's common between all of these statements?
They're all absolutely rubbish.
Fake WhatsApp forwards that spread like wildfire.
And statements that defy any logic.
We are here to debunk them all.
Way of family WhatsApp groups, worst nightmare. Where what happens when you read a book.
Basically, we are just a bunch of guys who want to cut through the bullshit of everyone saying this, how it won't be true.
So that the next time someone confidently squeezes out some WhatsApp or Twitter BS, you can look them dead in the eye and go, Uncle, please sit.
So join me, Joel,
And me, Tushar.
every Mondays for a fresh new episode of Uncle, Please Sit.
Welcome back after this short break. Mehak, you have a story. Do you want to perform first and tell us the story behind the story later, or how do we go about
Okay, sure. I can do that. Always ready.
it? Okay,
Yeah. So this story
perfect.
I will not be sharing. So there is a girl called Rajjo. She will be coming and she'll be performing it for you. She'll be telling her story rather, not performing. Yeah. Let's go. Let's call her.
Perfect.
नमस्ते जी, मैं रज्जो अचार बना रही थी जब मैडम ने बुलाया. कैरी का? दोपहर का खाना, बर्तन मांझना, सारे काम हो चुके हैं. तो अम्मा ने कहा, जाके रज्जो अचार बना ले कैरी का. इसमें बड़े एक्सपर्ट है हम, हमारे इनको बड़ा भाता है. कहते हैं तेरे हाथों में रज्जो अब अम्मा के हाथ का स्वाद आता है. अब इससे बड़ी कोई बात होगी? इनकी माँ जैसा बनाते हैं, सासू माँ जैसा बनाते हैं। पहले अपनी माँ जैसा बनाते थे, फिर आके यहाँ का तरीका सीख लिया। ज्यादा खट्टा, ज्यादा तीखा, रंग और हो गहरा गहरा, नया तरीका सीख लिया। कैरी वही, मैं भी वही, बस स्वाद बदला है कैरी का। इसके लिए कई चीजें करनी पड़ती है। आप शहर वालों को खबर ना होगी क्या क्या करना पड़ता है। गांव में तो हर एक लड़की बचपन से ही सीख लेती है अचार बनाना कैरी का। चलो आपको सिखाते हैं। तो कैरी चुनने से शुरुआत है होती। मानो देख रहा हो कोई शादी को लड़की, गिरी हुई हो तो ना लेना, दाग लगा हो तो ना लेना, पकी हुई तो काम ना आए, औरों के रंग में ढल ना पाए। उम्र जितनी कम उतनी अच्छी, वरना दूसरा स्वाद चढ़ ना पाए। अब बड़ों ने किया है तो ठीक ही होगा ये मुआयना कैरी का। अरे रज्जो, किससे बड़बड़ा रही है? बगल की मीनू आई है क्या? जल्दी जल्दी काट ले कैरी और टुकड़े हो सारे एक सरी का। जी अम्मा। सुना? टुकड़े हो सारे एक सरी का। जैसे अम्मा कहते हैं, ना कोई बेहतर ना कोई बदतर, ताकि सारे एक लगे। और बीच की गुठली फेंक ही दो दूर कहीं रूह की तरह। फिर रगड़ो नमक मसालों में, जैसे होता रहा है सालों से। फिर तेल में डुबाए रखना है, ढक्कन कस बंद करना है। ख्वाबों को हवा न दो, उजालों को रहा न दो। फिर रखो नजर तब तक जब तक सासू माँ के हाथ की ये याद ना दिलाए। तब तक जब तक इसमें जिंदगी से खटास आ ना जाए। तब तक जब तक किस्मत इसकी बदलना भूल ही जाए। यूं बनता है अचार कैरी का। अरे रज्जो, अब तक बड़बड़ा रही है। मुन्नी तेरी उठ चुकी है, मुन्नी मेरी उठ चुकी है। अब मुझे जाना होगा, कुछ सालों में इसे भी तो सिखाना होगा यही अचार बनाना लड़की का, मतलब कैरी का। शुक्रिया, चलती हूँ। थैंक यू।
I am never over this story. Like this entire conversation, people who are probably listening are just going to be like, why is she laughing so much? But the first time I heard this story, I was like, oh, it's such a nice, sweet story about making a pickle. And then I was like, no, wait, what? What? And the end was like gives you the closure that you're looking for in the story. This is brilliant work.
Thank you. So tell me,
So,
what questions do you have?
how did you? Yeah. So, when you decided to write about in this particular story, of course, that it becomes a metaphor that Rajjo is making a pickle that is like very, very obvious. It's right there for the listeners to pick up. But do you feel like, as a storyteller, using personal situations to talk about larger things generally helps, or was that a move that you did by choice, or is this something that just came out of you?
See, like I said, this story was written at start of when I started walking on this path. So that time I was not really conscious about these things, you know. Those times I used to write stories which were sometimes using these smaller life incidences, very colloquial and very, you know, day-to-day activities of our life. And also things that were very vague and metaphor and, you know, broad situations, you know, covering the lifespan of a character's life. But today when I look at my stories back and I analyze them, I realize that stories which have very specific small situations that I used to give that bigger message work more in oral storytelling. So because everybody relates to them, because those things are happening in everybody's life day to day. So, and then there is no age factor here, or even location factor. Like Keri Ka Achar is something that even though it is a story of a girl from a village, I have got messages from women in US, okay, who are doctors, saying that, you know what, same thing we are also going through. So it
Oh.
bypasses all of those things when you're talking about day-to-day life.
The ideas of borders and everything.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
That is so cool. I mean, one of the very like as an artist, something like living in today's times as an artist is a little scary
Hmm.
because as much as you want to tell your truth,
Hmm.
there are so many other factors that influence or kind of motivate you not to, and it's all very convoluted, right? So as
But
you
I,
even when somebody says that,
I kind
yeah,
of disagree. In fact, this is the best time to be an artist because through art you can say what
yeah,
others cannot say. So, in fact, I think artists
correct.
today have to be the bravest and they should be out there and talking about things. क्या ही कर लेंगे यार? I have realized that.
I was just going to come to that because I hear these things on social media that, oh, you have to be very careful about what you say. But I don't feel artists traditionally were ever afraid to tell their truth,
Be
especially
careful.
storytellers.
Be careful about people's emotions whom you don't want to hurt. Okay, it should
Correct.
not happen that is not your intention, but yet you hurt somebody. Yes, you should apologize for that. But if you're talking for something you believe in, don't apologize for that for sure.
Yeah, that is very, very like.
Yeah.
So something that as a up and coming artist who looks up to like a bunch of people who are already kind of forerunners in the situation, do you think people should stick to a certain, like, is there a rule book for storytelling, like something
Yeah,
as basic as that,
yeah,
or
yeah.
do you create it on your own?
There is a big rule, big rule. So you are supposed to study all the storytellers that are there in the what word you used? Forerunners. What is it?
Yeah,
Four
forerunners.
forerunners. Okay. So you're supposed to study them properly, understand their style and everything, and then make sure you do nothing like that. Because what is required is the unique you that you are when you are in your house talking to your family, your friends, when you are sitting in the bathroom alone and crying over something, when you're angry and fighting with your sister. That person nobody has seen yet. That's unique. Stage needs that. So study everyone, make sure that you are nothing like them. Come on stage, be yourself, and give that unique stories to us, please. Yeah, nobody is a forerunner.
And to hold those stories, we can always come to you for Jhumri Talaya.
Yeah, you come to
Like,
Jhumri
most
Talaya.
definitely. It's something
All I do in Jhumri Talaya is turn the sock inside out. That's all.
yeah, I think that's a perfect image. If, like, that there could ever be one for an artist. In times like these, all you got to do is turn yourself inside out
Yes.
and kind of create more original stuff. Because now you see that um, in art forms that are more performance led, it's very easy and convenient to step into typecasts and brackets.
Yes.
Like, that there is an already existing audience for something, so you start doing exactly that.
True.
And then you kind of try to cash in on that. But then I feel like what we need today, honestly, is people who can connect across borders, classes, languages, and more. Because I feel like storytelling has a universal language in itself.
Yes, absolutely it does. It is not even fixed to language. Just with eyes, signs, you can still tell stories.
That is so great. I have not even I've completely forgotten how like the last time we spoke, we decided like, oh, there's going to be XYZ structure because this conversation was supposed to happen like a really long time ago. And from there, we had such a brilliant conversation where I didn't even realize we are like 38 minutes into it. And it still feels like there's so much said and there is so much to be spoken about. But I think I will leave it for the audience to kind of come to you directly and kind of seek that knowledge from your work and from all the amazing workshops that you've been conducting. One thing I really like about Jhumri is the fact that it's a personalized session. So it's not something that is like a class of 60 people sitting together listening to a teacher and just going like, okay.
No.
But it's just like very, very personal, very individual.
Yeah,
Was there a reason behind keeping it that way?
Yes, absolutely. So I used to do offline workshops with 10 people, 15 people. I've done with even 35 to 50 people also. So like in corporates, I still do. But when I realized that it is absolutely impossible if somebody wants to bring out the storyteller in them, it's impossible to do it in a group. It needs very extreme individual attention that they have to give themselves. It is not about my attention, actually. It is about their attention, because when you are in a group, you are looking at everyone else constantly. That pressure is there. You need to completely look at yourself, give yourself full 100% attention, and that can only happen when it's just one-on-one, the teacher and you. So there are times when I put my finger on the video and say that, imagine I'm not here. Do this exercise. So literally it happens. Yeah.
I'm so grateful we had this conversation, because I'm sure that people need to learn more about the behind the scenes, as opposed to, it looks very nice and glamorous when you see performers on stage, but it's not something like they woke up in the morning, they had a story in their mind and they just came to the show in the evening and performed it.
True.
There is so much work that goes behind constructing a story the way it is said, using the right words, using the right images.
Yeah, there is also a riyaz that can be done, So my entire one session is about a storyteller's riyaz. There are 3 things that you can do every single day for 15 minutes that is going to keep you ready when that story comes on paper for you. Because story will come, if story is a creative process, it will come through your intuition. When you become completely empty and sit, you will become a medium for it. You have little control over that. But to keep yourself ready in the aspect of performance, it is in your control. It's like gymming every day for that one competition that is going to happen, So that gymming you can do on your own. You can increase your strength every single day. So there is a riyaz process that is there for a storyteller. So it is possible to make it into a complete discipline with following certain processes. And if people follow it, it really helps.
Wow, thank you for buffing us up with words, by the way. You need that one trainer who's behind you, getting you to kind of push your own limits and make it happen. And you need more trainers like that in the industry right now. This has been such a brilliant conversation. And I know we're going to have so many more in different spaces. So if you can tell us where we can follow you online, so we can get more insights into how do we go about the world of storytelling.
Mehak Mirza Prabhu is the name, and you can search it anywhere. It's the same name you will get on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. So listen to stories and share yours soon with me if you can. And Lakshmi, I have to say one thing.
I think I might just end up.
I have to say one thing. I'm really inspired by what you are doing also. Your journey, your growth has been so beautiful. The way you conduct yourself, your thoughts, and every podcast that I have been listening of yours. Trust me, you bring out the best in the speaker. So thank you.
I'm just going to take a snapshot of this out and submit it to every fellowship I've written to ever. Hey, listen, this is something what somebody I love said about me. I am so grateful, Mehak. Thank you so much. It's the feedback. I think you were one of the first people to give me the feedback when the show went live. And I was super scared because, this is something that I've never opened up about. When I had pitched this podcast to IVM and I had spoken to them about this, the business development lead there asked me, Acha, what do you think, how many people would listen to one of your episodes? And I did not know what is the number, because you never get to see the insights on the back end.
Right.
I'm just is 100 a logical number? I don't really know. I don't really know where to put a pin upon it. And then when the first episode actually went live, and you were one of the first people to text me and say, hey, I heard your episode with Jasmine and it was good and congratulations. I realized that it was starting Lit Nama was never about the numbers. It was about this community that has given me so much. I feel like there is something I can do. There is some kind of discipline I have picked up over the years, and I can kind of turn it around, make it a lens to look at the world and introduce more people to the amazing people I have had the fortune of knowing and working with. And you've just made
and you're perfectly on track.
So much impact.
You're perfectly on track. All the best.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mehak. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lakshmi.
Bye. Take care.
I love this session. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Are you looking for India's most awesome cricket podcast? Are you now tired of listening to the same old guys drone on about cricket everywhere? Edges and Sledges is a weekly cricket podcast hosted by three fans of the game, Varun, DJ, and myself, Ashwin. It was established in early 2018, has over 60 episodes now, and is of course now proud to be on the IVM Podcast Network. Each week, we get together from 3 different time zones, the USA, the UK, and Singapore, and we talk about things from the world of cricket, with a focus on Indian cricket. We often interview special guests from all around the world, including former cricketers and cricket media personalities. So check out Edges and Sledges, the cricket podcast, now on the IVM Network.